If you find it hard to stick to something long-term, or if you're with someone who can't commit and you want to understand why, today's episode is just for you. Now, commitment phobia or fear of commitment is more than just hopping from one relationship to the next. It's a deeper inner child wound that sneaks into all areas of your life, including changing your mind all the time, hopping from one hobby and project to the next, and having a whole bunch of books and courses that you start but never finish. So whether this describes you or someone else, don't worry, it is not your fault, and I've got some solutions for you. In fact, I'm going to share today my simple delusion method that has helped me and countless clients overcome this fear of commitment so that they can keep lasting relationships without feeling the need to run away. Today is another absolutely value-packed, full of information episode on commitment phobia, and I've saved the best for last, right after this intro. Welcome to the Inner Child Podcast. Now with 2 million downloads, I help high achievers recover from painful relationships and childhood trauma. Let's heal together on Season 2 of the Inner Child Podcast. Welcome back to the Inner Child Podcast. I'm your host, Gloria Zhang, award-winning therapist and relationship coach. And I've helped over 100 women break their relationship patterns and find a healthy, long-lasting partner using my situationship to soulmate method. And today I'm going to also help you in this episode. Because today we are talking all about commitment phobia or the fear of commitment, why it's showing up for you, how to fix it, and how to stop running away or quitting things before you finish them. And in order to make today's lesson a lot more memorable and fun for you, I've decided to do something a little bit different. I'm going to teach today's episode by telling 3 different stories. And the 3 real stories include a ghost, a tarot card reader, and how to fix it with the Delulu method. So let's start today with story number 1. Everyone here knows that I used to be the girl that always chased after the emotionally unavailable guy. The whole internet knows all my dirty laundry, and I tell it so that it can help you. The story was always that he wasn't ready, he was avoidant, or he was already taken to some degree. In fact, I even published an episode a few weeks ago talking about inappropriate crushes. Go listen to that one, it's a really good one. And so I had built this narrative in my head of, I'm the loving one, I'm the empathic one, and he's the one that never wants to commit. And that's what I truly believed for a long time. Until I realized that there is something very wrong with that story. And it happened when I was messaging somebody on Tinder, or maybe it was Bumble. We were having a great conversation, going back and forth. He was making me laugh. I was already imagining about our first date. And when I went back to his dating profile and read, looking for a long-term relationship, suddenly I freaked out. I panicked. I blocked the guy. Gah. Why did I do that? How could it be that suddenly I became the commitment phobe as soon as I actually met someone who wanted something long-term? So in that story, I was the ghost. Very sad to say that that really used to be one of my patterns. And this was a turning point for me when I started to understand that when we attract commitment phobes, often it means that on some level, not always, but often, we also have an aspect of fearing commitment as well. And I'm going to explain exactly why this is the case. When 2 commitment phobes come into each other's orbit, they mirror each other in this game of cat and mouse, of pursuer and distancer. And instead of helping each other, they actually feed into each other's wounds. Why? Because unconsciously, you know that when you're with a commitment phobe, that it's never going to go anywhere. It's never going to get deeper. It never becomes more vulnerable, and it never develops into something more long-lasting. It's a situationship that constantly feels like you're just on the verge of moving forward, and then, something happens. They get busy, they change their mind, and rinse and repeat. And of course, we stay in these interactions, number 1, because part of us buys into the fantasy a little bit, where it's almost more enjoyable to pretend that we're in a relationship than to have to deal with our traumas and work on those traumas. So there's a safety piece as well. But then there also is that piece that at least with a situationship, you know what to expect. And at least if it's a situationship, then that person will always be at arm's length, and we never actually have to be vulnerable and commit to that person. And so we build this story in our heads that other people are the commitment phobes, but actually we are also part of this cycle of not choosing someone who will allow us to commit to them. And how shocking was that? And I really want to acknowledge that it is very hard to see the truth, because when I was telling that story of they're the ones that don't commit, they're the bad guy, I'm the good girl, this accusation of always redirecting the fault to someone else, of maybe it was blaming men, maybe it was blaming dating apps. Notice how these accusations protect me from acknowledging my own part of this, because realistically, this wasn't happening to my friends. My friends were getting married and actually finding really great partners to settle down with. And so that is evidence against this case of it's always the other people, except for me. I'm so great and perfect, right? And so I was the common denominator. I was the one still choosing to stay in these relationships, who still felt attracted to emotionally unavailable people, which then enables them to continue their behavior. So in a sense, I'm still consenting to this on some level. And really the takeaway from this first story is that there wasn't actually anything wrong with me. I was good enough. You are good enough. You are worthy enough. You are lovable enough. You are desirable enough. You are worthy enough of being chosen. But it's got to be from the right people. And it's proof that there are people who want to commit to you, who want to put you first and choose you and make you feel important. But you need to believe that you are worthy enough first in order to receive that kind of love. So that beckons the next question. If we understand that there's something internal going on here, well, why do we keep jumping ship? Why do we keep choosing to jump from one thing to the next? Why can't we just commit if we understand this? So that takes me to story number 2, our amazing tarot card reader. So I used to have this wonderful woman inside my soulmate program. She was a lot of fun, and she actually ran this amazing tarot card reading business. Super spiritual, but also very entrepreneurial, savvy lady. And when she was doing her consultation with us, it felt like it was a really, really good fit. She was super excited about working with me. And then all of a sudden, right when she was about to join, she suddenly got a ton of cold feet, which the strange thing was that she was perfectly aware that she had a self-sabotaging pattern. That was one of the first things she said to us was, hey guys, I always leave the relationship, but I've never had a long-term relationship, which is very common with people that we work with. So she was very well aware of this fact. And even more strange, the reasons that she was coming up with for why she suddenly couldn't join seemed really random and a bit all over the place. So at first it was her dog's birthday, right? And then it was the Lionsgate portal, which is a cosmic event that, people in the spiritual community really care about. And then it was a financial thing. She wasn't sure if she could afford it. And so part of me being a good coach is I got to call people out when I see something going on. It was like, okay, whoa, slow down. Something is clearly making you feel in conflict. And I think all of these 3 reasons, your dog's birthday, the Lionsgate portal, although those are valid things that are actually happening, I'm not convinced that that's the actual reason. I feel like it's skirting around the truth. Well, you want to know what happened? It turned out that she had previously tried therapy and then quit after a few months. She had bought a bunch of courses for her business and never finished them, or never went beyond the first video. She had started doing yoga and then she stopped. And it was the same kind of pattern that she was having with men in her romantic life. How interesting. This was never about money or astrology. This was about the fact that she didn't trust herself to see the program through. This was about self-trust and the possibility that she might have quit again, even though it hadn't even happened yet, made her feel like she was ashamed and undisciplined ahead of time because she had this belief of, I'm undisciplined. And so she would quit things to prevent herself from feeling ashamed in the first place. And the irony of this is exactly what I help people to resolve, right? And so later she understood that she wouldn't have this issue anymore if only she had joined and actually worked on the solution. And so you really want to ask yourself, is this really about the thing? Or is this actually about you not trusting yourself and trusting your own decisions? And so you're not even giving yourself a fighting chance to do it imperfectly. So eventually she did join and is doing fabulous now. She's like a totally different woman. And so how did we help her learn to build trust within herself, learn to commit to things that she started without burning out and getting resentful? I am going to share with you this exact strategy called the Delulu method or the delusion method in story number 3. So I'm very proud of this very seamless segue that I have created to connect these 2 stories. Because with the delusion method, you are intentionally choosing where to place your focus, almost like you're deluding yourself into building your self-esteem. And this strategy works freaking fantastic. So I'm so excited to share this with you. Here's my 3rd story of how you can use the delusion method to stick to things that you start and to start trusting your choices. And this story has to do with my abs, believe it or not. So back when I was getting back into fitness, I was doing this YouTube home workout program, and I was so happy for the fact that I managed to stay consistent for 2 whole weeks. And it was a really big deal for me because I had never considered myself an athletic person before. And then during the 3rd week, it just so happened that I had family come and stay at my place. And so I paused and fell off the wagon naturally. When my family left, I was behind for 3 days. And instead of starting back in, I felt so bad about missing those 3 days that I started to dread it and avoid it. And 3 days turned into 4 days, which turned into 5 days. And next thing I realized, a whole week had passed. And I was feeling so bad about it. I started replaying those old stories like, this always happens. Maybe I'm not meant to be fit. And I even avoided looking at my calendar for a little while. So one day I actually went back into my calendar because I was trying to find my friend's birthday that I had written down somewhere. And I stumbled upon those workout notes from that 2-week program. And reading those notes, I realized how excited I was and how proud I was for it. And it finally hit me. Holy moly. I did it for 2 whole weeks. For 2 whole weeks, I had done my abs, my upper chest and back exercises, my glutes. My booty was popping and I felt really good in my body. So the fact that I was able to do this for 2 weeks is proof that I can do it and I am capable of exercising. Yet I became so focused on the 1 week that I didn't do it, even though that 1 week doesn't cancel out the fact that I still did it 2 weeks prior to. Isn't that so interesting how we focus so heavily on the negatives and that we don't celebrate something that we accomplish? And this really goes to show how ridiculous that train of thought is. Because who cares if I fell off for 1 week, even 1 month or 1 year? It doesn't even matter because I still have evidence that I can start again and I have done it at one point. And this is the Delulu mindset that I want you to take when it comes to your next commitments. The Delulu method is that for the next 7 days, you are going to focus only on your wins and completely ignore any quote unquote failures. You're going to romanticize yourself so much, maybe even buy a celebratory cake for every little thing. And if you don't do something or you've missed a day or two, you're going to notice it, but not pay any attention to it and redirect your attention back to what you did accomplish. Even if you only made your bed for one day and then didn't do it for the rest of the week, you're only going to focus on that one day that you did make your bed. And this is a very helpful mental and mindful strategy for reprogramming what our brains are actually focusing on. And by doing so, it's going to remove a lot of resistance towards discipline. And this is the very important part that I want you to get. The cause of commitment phobia is not about some deep, broken personality trait you have. It's not about you are incapable of doing this. No, you're perfectly capable of doing things. It's simply the shame that we attach to our imperfections and making mistakes. And by quitting things, we're actually trying to run away from feeling the shame instead of just accepting that life happens, we're imperfect, and being okay with it and just carrying on. As they say, the show must go on, and there is nobody who is perfect. And for those who do appear perfect, they might be like the 0.001% of the population, and we shouldn't idolize that behavior because most people are not wired that way. And for me, when I was really reflecting on this, it became very clear of where this thinking pattern came from. So back when I was in elementary school, if I got a 90% on a test, my parents would come to me and say, well, what happened to the other 10%? All of the attention was placed on what I didn't do, what I didn't accomplish, and what I did wrong. And I don't really remember feeling all that celebrated for the accomplishments that I did have. And that's kind of an Asian parenting thing, but I think a lot of people can remember having certain experiences like that, either from family or from their school system, where there was no reward basically for what you did do well. You were never taught to feel proud of the work that you put into something, but all the focus was on what are you going to do better next time? How are you going to become more perfect and score higher next time? And the truth is, what I want you to know is you deserve to feel happier. You deserve to feel proud of yourself and to feel good about what you have accomplished. And those small things are worth celebrating. With my clients, I call that ring the bell, right? So anytime they even make a small, tiny little win, we want to celebrate and shine a light on it. You also deserve to feel the satisfaction of seeing something through instead of giving up on something that you actually care about, even if it takes longer than the person next to you, because it's not a race. And I can tell you now that I have at this point completed several workout challenges. I got these baby guns right here. I don't know if you can see. And I was never a super athletic person. These workout challenges did take me longer than was recommended on the app. In fact, some weeks I was only able to complete like 50-60% of it. So was I perfect? Heck no. But was I proud of myself for what I did do? Heck yes. And the days where I did fall off the wagon or I was just too tired to try a workout, I would just say to myself, okay, Gloria, you need a break right now. So let's go do the break and not even thinking about this. And tomorrow we will try again. There is no self-punishing. I simply did the Delulu method and only focused on celebrating and giving myself positive affirmation for the things that I did do. And you know what happened? Because I had all of this positive affirmation within myself, it actually made me want to do that workout even more. Because instead of being motivated by fear and punishment, instead I was getting pulled by love and enjoyment and joy. And although fear and pain versus love and joy are two equally powerful motivators, I don't know about you guys, but I would much rather feel pulled and inspired by joy and positive affirmation instead. And so this was the same kind of mentality that we helped our tarot card reader lady work through. We tell all of our clients that it's actually okay. And we encourage you to fall off the wagon because the experience of talking to yourself through a failure is actually more important than checking off all the lists and doing things perfectly. In fact, we have people who forget about the program sometimes for 2, 3 months and they come back later. And the way that they talk to themselves more lovingly is actually part of the healing process. And there's no shame or punishment for doing so because it can be hard work. And so all of these 3 stories I shared absolutely translate over to relationships as well. So it's quite obvious how this can apply to personal hobbies and jobs. But it's really the same thing in intimate relationships. So the fear of commitment is caused because you actually are avoiding your emotions. You're afraid of getting hurt or losing your freedom, so you run away before that becomes a possibility, instead of allowing yourself to feel those things. But the truth here, and I can say from all of my experience as a therapist and a relationship coach, if you want an amazing, lasting relationship, you have to understand that everybody is going to feel hurt or triggered or a little bored at some point in their relationship. Why? Because that's just life. Wouldn't you agree that life has good times and bad times? Life has moments of excitement and boredom. Well, a life partner is just someone who does life with you. And so if life has ups and downs, then relationships also have ups and downs. And these emotions do not last forever. You can feel bored for a week, but that doesn't mean that next week you're going to feel bored as well. And it doesn't mean that for the rest of your life, you are going to experience that same feeling, right? Because things happen in life. And one week, something cool happens in the news and we're really excited. And the week after, there's some sort of economy issue and we feel sad. But the emotions are not the problem. It's the way that we respond to and process these emotions. And once you have mastered your emotional regulation, you can handle anything that life throws at you. And it's not a difficult process at all. It's 3 steps that we teach. In fact, we have folks in their 50s and 60s who are doing this for the first time, who have told us straight up that they have felt more relief in their anxiety in just a couple of weeks than they have previously in like months of therapy. All right, so I want you to know that it is very possible to handle your emotions in a different way that feels better for you and other people. It's not rocket science, and anyone can learn to do this. So here's our call to action for today, and I hope you enjoyed my 3 stories. Call to action number 1. If you are attracting commitment phobes, I know it can be hard to accept at first, but there is also likely a part of you that fears commitment. And this is your gentle nudge to explore the part of yourself that is also afraid to get vulnerable and to stick to something long term. We also talked about how so much of commitment phobia is related to self-trust and not trusting yourself to see things through. And finally, I shared with you the Delulu method to break this pattern where you are only focused on celebrating your wins and completely ignoring your losses, to train your brain to respond to positive reinforcement instead of self-punishment. Try this out for 7 days and you will see a huge difference in your joy and your own willingness to want to see things through. And I want you to let me know in the comments what the results of this delusion experiment was for you. Call to action number 2, I have a related episode that I think will be really helpful for you. You can go back to episode 32 called Why Aren't They Committing to Me? I really recommend that one. And finally, call to action number 3. If you are ready to take that next step beyond just listening to the podcast, then I invite you to book your free breakthrough call with my coaching team. This is quite possibly the most life-changing 30 minutes you will experience in your healing journey. Or so we've heard. We are here to listen and create the safe space for you. And if there's a good fit between you and I, then there's an opportunity for us to work together. This free breakthrough call is open to high achievers who desire to break their love patterns, heal their inner child, and attract a healthy long-term relationship. Just go to bygloriazhang.com/soulmate. There will be a few quick questions so that we can get to know a little bit more about you first, and then you will have the option of scheduling a time on our calendar. So we look forward to meeting you there. So my loves, I hope this was a super packed and valuable listen or watch for you. Share it with a friend, screenshot and tag me on Instagram at @ByGloriaZhang with your biggest takeaways, and let me know in the comments. Did this episode help you learn about commitment phobia? And did you try the Delulu method to help you stick to things better? We'll put up a poll up on Spotify as well. I love you guys so much. Thank you for allowing me to continue to do this. I really love hearing from you, your messages and your feedback. And I'm so proud of you if you've been listening this long and you're doing the work and making stuff happen. So see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful, beautiful day and an abundant life. Mwah. Thanks for tuning in, bestie. I've got something for you. If you think this show deserves a 5-star review, we'll send you my free Inner Child Starter Kit as a thank you for your support, which contains exclusive wallpapers and resources for you to download. To get your kit, just upload a screenshot of your review on Apple or Spotify to my webpage, bygloriazhang.com/reviews. The link is also in the show notes. There you can also check out my healing sessions and programs at bygloriazhang.com. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, and I will meet you in the next episode. Mwah!